The death of Atlanta rapper Young Scooter as an in-custody death. His real name is Kenneth Bailey.
Breaking news right now in the city of Atlanta, where just minutes ago, Atlanta police held a news conference about the death of a 39-year-old man, Kenneth Bailey, also known as rapper Young Scooter.
Start with a rest in peace, Young Scooter. Yes, let's dedicate this episode to him. Thoughts, prayers, and condolences to his
y'all. So, as you guys know, Young Scooter passed away over the weekend.
Lakewood neighborhood in southeast Atlanta. Police responding to a 911 call. Homicide Commander Lieutenant Andrew Smith.
Officers responded to a dispute with a weapon. It was advised in the call remarks that shots were fired and a female was dragged back into the...
As officers tried to make contact with anyone in the home,
2 males fled out of the rear of the house.
APD says one of those men was Kenneth Bailey, better known as rapper Young Scooter. Lieutenant Smith says Bailey jumped 2 fences before officers caught up to him.
When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. There is no indication of anyone being shot.
In the early hours of what would become one of Atlanta's most controversial police incidents, Kenneth Edward Bailey, known to the hip-hop world as Young Scooter, was about to face a situation that would forever change the trajectory of his life and career. The 31-year-old rapper, who had worked tirelessly to escape the streets and build a legitimate music empire, found himself in circumstances that would ultimately cost him everything he had fought so hard to achieve. The first glimpse into the tragic events came through a 911 emergency call.
The woman who called 911 told operators there was something seriously wrong at the home on William Nye Drive in southeast Atlanta.
He's beating her bloody. He's dragged her back in the house.
That would later become crucial evidence in understanding what transpired during Young Scooter's final moments. The call, which was eventually released to the public through Fox 5 News coverage, painted a picture of chaos and confusion as emergency responders rushed to the scene. The dispatcher's voice remained calm and professional, but the urgency in the caller's tone revealed the severity of the situation unfolding in real time.
I think you guys should get here quick because this girl he's really hitting her, and it's a child involved.
Police.
What started as a routine police encounter had escalated into something far more serious, with multiple units being dispatched to handle what witnesses described as a high-speed chase through Atlanta's streets. The 911 call would become more than just an emergency response recording. It would serve as one of the primary pieces of evidence that investigators would scrutinize in the weeks following Young Scooter's death. Every word, every background noise, and every timestamp would be analyzed as the community demanded answers about what really happened during those crucial minutes. The call captured not just the immediate emergency, but also the confusion and conflicting reports that would later fuel widespread speculation about the circumstances surrounding the rapper's demise. The news of Young Scooter's death sent immediate shockwaves through Atlanta's tight-knit hip-hop community, a network of artists, producers, and industry professionals who had watched him rise from the streets to become one of the city's most promising talents. Reports began circulating through social media platforms, with initial posts expressing disbelief and demanding confirmation of what many hoped was just another internet rumor. But as official sources began to confirm the tragic news, the reality set in that Atlanta had lost another one of its rising stars. Young Scooter's journey to this point had been anything but easy. Born and raised in Zone 6 of Atlanta, he had experienced firsthand the challenges that many young men face in urban environments across America. The streets that had shaped his early experiences also provided the raw material for his music, giving him an authenticity that resonated with fans who recognized their own struggles in his lyrics. His ability to translate street experiences into compelling musical narratives had earned him respect not just locally, but throughout the broader hip-hop community. The rapper's death represented more than just the loss of an individual. It symbolized the ongoing challenges facing young black men in America, particularly those trying to transition from street life to legitimate success. Young Scooter had become a beacon of hope for many who saw in his success story the possibility of their own transformation. His music spoke to the reality of trying to navigate between two worlds, the streets that had raised him and the music industry that offered him a path to something better. As news of young Scooter's death continued to spread, questions began emerging about the circumstances that led to the fatal encounter. The suspicious nature of his death prompted a deeper investigation that would uncover layers of complexity surrounding the events of that tragic night. What initially appeared to be a straightforward police incident began to reveal inconsistencies and unanswered questions that would fuel ongoing controversy within the community. The investigation revealed that young Scooter's final hours were spent in ways that seemed inconsistent with someone planning to engage in criminal activity. Friends and associates who had spoken with him earlier that day described him as being in good spirits, focused on upcoming music projects and excited about the direction his career was taking. This stark contrast between his positive outlook and the circumstances of his death raised questions about what might have transpired in the hours leading up to the fatal encounter. Evidence began emerging that suggested the situation might have been more complex than initial reports indicated. Witnesses came forward with accounts that didn't align perfectly with the official version of events, creating a patchwork of testimony that investigators would need to carefully analyze. The rapper's family and legal representatives began calling for a thorough and transparent investigation, demanding that all available evidence be examined to determine exactly what happened during those crucial final moments.
Got it.
One can bleed out in seconds from a laceration to a femoral artery.
The medical examiner will determine cause of death. Dr. Cecil Bennett with Noonan Family Medicine says cuts to a specific area of the leg could prove deadly.
The femoral arteries.
The release of additional details surrounding young Scooter's death only served to deepen the mystery and increase the number of questions that investigators would need to address. The 911 call, which had initially provided some clarity about the timeline of events, began to raise new questions when analyzed alongside other evidence that was slowly being made public. Discrepancies in timing, conflicting witness accounts, and gaps in the official narrative created a complex puzzle that would require careful examination to solve. Legal experts who reviewed the available evidence began pointing out potential issues with the way the situation had been handled from the very beginning. Questions arose about whether proper protocols had been followed, whether the level of force used was appropriate for the circumstances, and whether there might have been alternative approaches that could have prevented the tragic outcome. These questions were not just academic exercises. They had real implications for young Scooter's family, who deserved answers about why their loved one was no longer with them. The rapper's death also highlighted broader systemic issues that extend far beyond any single incident. The circumstances surrounding his death reflected ongoing tensions between law enforcement and the communities they serve, particularly in urban areas where young black men often feel targeted and vulnerable. Young Scooter's story became part of a larger narrative about the challenges facing a generation of young men who are trying to build better lives while navigating systems that don't always give them the benefit of the doubt. The involvement of medical professionals in analyzing young Scooter's death brought a scientific perspective to what had become an increasingly emotional and politically charged situation. An orthopedic doctor's examination of the available evidence provided crucial insights into the physical aspects of the rapper's final moments, offering objective medical analysis that could help separate fact from speculation in the ongoing investigation. The medical experts' review focused on the specific injuries that young Scooter sustained during the incident, examining whether they were consistent with the official account of events and whether they might provide clues about exactly what transpired during the encounter. This type of medical forensic analysis is crucial in cases where the circumstances of death are disputed or unclear, as it can provide objective evidence that either supports or challenges various narratives about what occurred. The doctor's findings would become an important piece of the larger puzzle that investigators were trying to assemble. Medical evidence has the advantage of being relatively objective compared to witness testimony, which can be influenced by emotions, perspectives, and incomplete information. By examining the physical evidence through a medical lens, experts could provide insights that might not be apparent to those without specialized training in forensic analysis. The revelation that young Scooter died during a police chase added another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation. High-speed pursuits are among the most dangerous situations that law enforcement officers face, involving split-second decision-making under extreme pressure while trying to balance public safety concerns with the need to apprehend suspects. For young Scooter, what might have started as a routine encounter escalated into a chase that would ultimately cost him his life. The circumstances that led to the chase remained unclear, with various accounts offering different versions of how the situation began and why it escalated to the point where a pursuit became necessary. Some reports suggested that young Scooter was initially stopped for a minor traffic violation, while others indicated that he might have been suspected of more serious criminal activity. The gap between these different accounts would become a crucial point of investigation as authorities try to piece together exactly what transpired. Police chases are inherently dangerous for everyone involved: the suspects being pursued, the officers conducting the chase, and innocent bystanders who might be caught in the path of speeding vehicles. Department policies typically require officers to weigh the severity of the suspected crime against the potential dangers of a high-speed pursuit.